Something big is unfolding, quietly but unmistakably. The Western luxury auto industry, long untouchable and iconic, is now teetering on the edge of a cliff. And most of its giants, BMW, Mercedes, even Tesla, have barely begun to grasp what's happening. For decades, these brands were more than just cars. They were global symbols of success, of prestige, of having made it. But that illusion is now cracking. And the blow isn't coming from traditional rivals. It's coming from China, from Huawei. In May 2025, Huawei, partnering with Chinese automaker JAC, unveiled the MXRO S800, a stunning luxury electric sedan loaded with next-generation tech, and a design that rivals the best Europe has to offer. The kicker? Its price. At roughly $98,000 to $142,000, it delivers a level of sophistication and innovation that Western companies simply can't match at that cost. This isn't a new model, it's a seismic shock to the foundation of Western dominance. And it's just the beginning. What makes this moment so critical is what the MXRO S800 represents. It's not just a car, it's a line in the sand. A statement that China is no longer content with just making affordable electric vehicles. It's aiming directly at the top, and it's doing so with precision. This echoes a pattern we've seen before, the rise of BYD, the panic triggered by DeepSeek's breakthroughs in AI. But this time it's hitting the most insulated tier of the market, the luxury segment. The very place Western brands thought they were safe. For years, the West clung to the belief that Chinese companies couldn't make premium products. That quality, refinement, and brand prestige were their exclusive domain. That belief has been shattered, and the ripple effects are already being felt. Over 6,500 pre-orders for the MXRO S800 were placed in the first month alone. In the mass market, that might seem modest. But in the luxury auto world, it's a thunderclap. It signals a shift, not just in consumer interest, but in consumer trust. The truth is, this car is just the visible tip of something far deeper. It's the result of China's long game, strategic investments in technology, vertically integrated supply chains, and a relentless focus on improving quality while reducing cost. The West, meanwhile, has grown complacent, overpriced, slow to innovate, reliant on brand heritage instead of forward momentum. Now, Western automakers are in a bind. They need the Chinese market to survive. But that same market is birthing competitors that are outpacing them on every front. Price, tech, and appeal. With Huawei's entry into the luxury EV arena, Western companies risk losing their grip on a $160 billion segment. And tariffs, once the go-to defense mechanism, are losing their bite. Protectionism doesn't work when you're the one dependent on access. This isn't just about cars anymore. It's a collision of economic systems, technological supremacy, and national interests. It's a battle for control over the future of transportation, of energy, of identity. And right now, China is gaining ground, fast. Behind the elegance of the MXRO S800 lies something far more powerful. A well-oiled domestic machine, backed by government support, capable of scaling faster, innovating quicker, and pricing more competitively than any Western rival. This isn't an isolated success. It's the result of a decades-long transformation, China moving from imitator to innovator, from manufacturer to brand leader. And it's catching Western automakers flat-footed. Their response? Quiet anxiety. Internal meetings. Desperate strategy sessions. No public admissions yet. But behind closed doors, the panic is real. Because they see what's coming. The world's largest auto market is no longer their playground. It's becoming their proving ground. And they're starting to lose. So what does this mean? It means that the age of Western dominance in luxury vehicles may be ending. The old guard is being challenged not by startups but by state-backed giants who've learned, iterated, and evolved at breakneck speed. The MXRO S800 is more than a car. It's a signal that the balance of power is shifting. Not gradually. Not someday. But right now. And if the West doesn't act, if it clings to legacy and reputation instead of adapting, then this is just the beginning of the end. The future is electric. It's high-tech. It's global. And increasingly, it's being built in China. In 2023, something extraordinary happened. Something that sent a quiet but seismic tremor through boardrooms from Stuttgart to Detroit. China sold 26 million vehicles. That's not just a number, it's a statement. Nearly 1/3 of all cars sold worldwide now come from a single country. That's double the United States. Nearly triple Europe. And if you're a global auto executive, one truth has become impossible to ignore. China is no longer just the world's largest car market. It's the center of gravity for the entire industry. For decades, premium Western brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi treated China as their growth engine, their profit oasis, their ticket to scale. In many cases, China accounted for up to 30% of their entire global revenue. But that story is unraveling. In the third quarter of 2024, BMW's sales in China dropped nearly 30%. Mercedes-Benz lost 10%. These aren't dips. These are red alerts. What once sustained them is now slipping away. And with it, so is the model they built their future on. Until recently, China helped cover the high costs of R&D, manufacturing, and innovation. Profits from Shanghai paid for factories in Bavaria. Sales in Shenzhen funded engineering labs in Stuttgart. But now those pipelines are drying up. And when the money stops, consequences follow. Layoffs, cancelled projects, frozen investments. What we're witnessing isn't just a bad quarter. It's the beginning of a structural reset. But why is this happening? The reasons go deeper than just slowing demand. Chinese consumers are making a cultural and psychological shift, away from imported status symbols and toward a new identity. One rooted in national pride, in innovation at home, and in brands that don't just compete with the West, but surpass it. At the center of this transformation is China's electric vehicle ecosystem, a machine powered by state strategy, technology leadership, and a manufacturing edge the West simply can't match. Brands like BYD, NIO, Xiaomi, and Huawei aren't offering cheap alternatives anymore. They're building the future, and they're doing it faster, smarter, and cheaper. The price gap alone is staggering. Western automakers have been pulled into a brutal price war. BMW had to slash the price of its EX1 by over $20,000 to stay competitive. But it's not just about undercutting anymore. It's about outclassing. Enter the MXRO S800. Huawei's flagship electric vehicle, developed in partnership with JAC, is not just another EV. It's a technological showcase, a mobile supercomputer, a design statement, and a direct challenge to Europe's most exclusive luxury offerings. With 3 motors generating 852 horsepower and a range of 702 kilometers, it delivers performance numbers that rival the best in the world. Using 5C fast charging, it recharges from 10% to 80% in just 12 minutes. The interior? It's a vision of digital luxury. Triple displays powered by Harmony OS, 40 high-end speakers, zero-gravity seating, ambient lighting systems, and design elements that rival Rolls-Royce and Mercedes-Maybach. And the price? Less than a quarter of a Maybach S680. This isn't disruption, it's domination. But the real story is not just the cars, it's the system behind them. China's advantage isn't one product, one brand, or one lucky break. It's a vertically integrated machine. From lithium extraction to battery cell production, from chip design to final assembly, Chinese companies control nearly the entire value chain. Between 60% to 75% of all EV battery components globally are made in China. BYD and CATL together produce over half the world's battery supply. This gives Chinese automakers a built-in 20% to 30% cost advantage before a single car is even built. Add to that their domestic scale, government backing, and software innovation, and you get an industrial model that is simply more efficient, more adaptive, and more scalable than anything the West has today. Western automakers, by contrast, are stuck in fragile, bloated supply chains stretched across continents, dependent on global logistics, outdated combustion platforms, and increasingly on China itself for key components. And that makes them vulnerable. A chip shortage, a trade dispute, a policy shift. Any disruption, and Western factories grind to a halt. This is about more than market share. It's about sovereignty. The very foundation of mobility is being rewritten, and China is writing the rules. Today's EVs aren't just cars. They are rolling data centers, networked platforms, part of urban infrastructure and national energy grids. Whoever controls the vehicle now controls access to power, data, connectivity, and even the digital public square. And China is placing itself at the center of that web. Even Silicon Valley is sounding the alarm. On July 16, 2025, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang stood in Beijing and said, "Chinese electric vehicles are the best in the world." That's not just a compliment, it's a confession. When the most influential voice in American AI and hardware openly acknowledges China's dominance, it marks a shift in global perception that cannot be ignored. And now China is taking its ambitions global. In April 2025, BYD surpassed Tesla in European sales, 7,231 vehicles compared to 7,165. That happened despite the EU imposing steep tariffs of up to 45% on Chinese EVs in a desperate attempt to protect local industry. Yet Chinese brands now command nearly 6% of the European market, doubling their share in just a few years. They're not just exporting, they're building on European soil. BYD's new factory in Hungary is just the beginning. Chinese firms are embedding themselves in the heart of Europe, bypassing import barriers and gaining direct access to consumers. And the strategy is working. BYD's vehicles in Europe are sold at a markup of 92% to 112%, generating profit margins Western companies only fantasize about. Meanwhile, Tesla's registrations in the EU have fallen by 45%. BMW and Mercedes are bleeding profitability, weighed down by high operating costs, slow product cycles, and an over-reliance on outdated internal combustion platforms. Behind all this is Huawei, once a telecom titan, now a key architect of China's automotive revolution. Its expertise in AI, connectivity, and cloud infrastructure is now being fused into next-gen vehicles, turning cars into data platforms, control centers, and smart devices on wheels. The financial picture is just as bleak for the West. In Q2 of 2024, BMW's profits took a sharp dive. Mercedes-Benz, dependent on China for a third of its revenue, is under increasing financial pressure. If current trends continue, Western brands could lose billions in revenue, be forced to cancel innovation programs, and retreat from the very markets they once dominated. This is not just about failing to compete. It's about ceding control. The MXRO S800 is more than a car, it's a signal. A bright, unmistakable sign that Western dominance in industry, innovation, and influence is eroding. If things keep moving in this direction, the West won't just lose market share, it will lose its economic future. So here's the question. Not can the West catch up, but will it even be allowed to? Because in this new world, speed, scale, and sovereignty decide everything.